Hello, Express Entry Law Facebook group members. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, coming to you live again today on this beautiful Tuesday. It is August the 14th today, and I will wait patiently for you guys to all catch up to me. I'm in the process right now of working through some pretty challenging immigration files, but I wanted to take a little step aside and try to make sure that I'm a little bit more consistent with these EE Live Q&As. We have an absolute ton of questions that were sent in. I've got a bunch of them. I don't know if you can see that. It's pretty bright. Anyways, I've got a ton of really good questions that listeners sent in. And while I'm waiting for everybody to catch up here and tune in live, you can just give me a thumbs up if you are, if I've actually have the mic on and you can hear me, because usually I end up having the mic off. But let me just see if I can pull it up on my phone here, my live recording. See if Facebook will cooperate with me. I have been trying to get the word out about my 60% off of my course that I'm offering, the lowest price ever. And so I changed my Facebook, our group banner page, and man, was it hard. I am not a graphic designer, but it was really difficult trying to get that sorted out. Okay, let's see here if I now officially am live. There I am. Okay, I'm going to pull that up and then flip it sideways. It's interesting, guys. I remember last week when I was trying to use my phone here to respond to people's questions. When I was scrolling up through the comments, I was accidentally hitting the like button, and it wasn't just like. Sometimes I was saying that I didn't like things and that I was angry, and and the reality was it was just because I was trying to scroll up within the actual within the comment section. So I'll flip it around. I'll show you here. So basically, I was trying to move up right here, push this up, and then I ended up providing all of this nasty little feedback to everyone. So I apologize for that. So if you see a weird comment from me, either liking or hating or angry faces, understand that I don't really mean that. So, but we're all good now. So I see we've got Akpoa. Hello. Hi, welcome. And we've got Omer here as well. So thanks for joining, guys. Let me know, as always, where you're tuning in from. I can go in and I can check out my Facebook page, and I'll show you guys something here. I've got cool statistics. So just while we're waiting for everybody to connect, I didn't post today the timeline, the countdown that I usually do. So we'll just wait a few minutes for everyone to catch up, and we'll see if Facebook is kind enough to actually show this on your timelines. But I'm going to share my screen with you here, and I'm going to show you the Facebook page. So I've changed the cover photo, and I can tell you this was a royal pain trying to get this to work. But anyways, I changed that so that everybody can see. To access the course, it's just CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com, and then you put in the coupon code EEDIY summer, and this expires tomorrow. But I'll show you guys, I can check out group insights. And so I always love, so please do post where you're listening in from, because I love that. But check this out. So I can see just in the last 28 days, we've had 1.4, so 1,400. And guys, we crossed over 116,000. It is so cool. I can see the growth here, over time. And I can also go in and I can see more details about the members. And so I can see who's posting a lot. So Devinder and everyone here is posting comments. I can get a breakdown of even the statistics as to how many men versus women. And there's definitely about 75% men compared to women. And then the top countries. So India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, then Canada. US is on that list, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and obviously some of you guys have heard about Saudi Arabia and some tweets of one of our foreign officers. and the consequences of that with the Saudi government not being too impressed. And that's fair. It's probably not the best strategy to use Twitter when you're espousing your discontent with foreign policy of another country. Anyways, or I should say internal domestic matters. But anyways, and you can see the top cities here. Even Toronto is pretty high. So Dhaka, Lagos, Karachi, Lahore. So it's really cool. I get a lot of data on you guys. I can see where you're listening in from, and so that's awesome. We've got a bunch of people who are now piling in here. Sarb is from BC, great. And once again, I'm going to try not to, if there's an angry face on your question, please ignore that because I'm just trying to scroll through this. San is from India. And we have, let's see who else here. Akpoa is from Regina. Very cool. Not too far from me. That's great. I'm going to jump back here to my main screen. So anyways, you guys, keep letting me know where you're tuning in from. And I think without further ado, you can see I've got a little bit of a different look. I'm wearing this bright white shirt today. So when I move this stuff over here on this side, I couldn't even see it. So I put up this little banner here and hopefully it won't interfere with what I'm trying to show you guys. If it does, I'll just get rid of it. Anyways, welcome. Those who are new to this, understand this is my EE Live Q&A, which is the opportunity that you have as live listeners to send your questions in to me for me to answer live. And this is the part I really, really enjoy most. I always start off with my listener questions. So if you want to send in a question to me to answer, in my every Tuesday at noon Mountain Standard Time, I try to do this. You can send an email to mholthy@stringham.ca. That's this one right down here. And then don't forget to put EE Live Q&A in the subject line. And that's how I'll know that your question is supposed to be answered here within the group. If this is not in here, then I will assume that you probably want to set up a paid consultation with me. And I do get lots of just general questions from people who want me to assess their eligibility or whatever it may be. Well, as an immigration lawyer, I do charge for those services. And so I usually direct those over to my assistant, Charlene, who then reaches out to you with an introductory email. So without further ado, let's get started with this, answering the questions. In the description for this video, you should be able to see some of the topics that we're going to be covering from the emails that have come in. So let's start here. And the first question here is from, and I'm going to also make a note of the timestamp here. But the first question is from Mario, and he says, hi, Mark. I hope everything is going just right for you. It is indeed, my friend. My question is related to one couple living in the U.S. She is studying English legally, and her husband is living over there as an illegal alien. He was lawfully admitted when he got his U.S. Tourist visa, and they're both Colombians. So are there any chances for him applying to permanent resident as an accompanying spouse and she applying as the main applicant? Thank you very much for your time. We all really appreciate it. Best regards, Mario. So this one here, what you're asking is whether or not being illegal in a country can prevent you from immigrating to Canada. So this is one of the main questions that I've listed within the title of this particular episode, because this is one I get a lot of, especially with how things are developing in the US, and in particular under the immigration policy there under their new president, Donald Trump. And so I get a lot of questions from people who want to know if it's even possible for them to apply through express entry if they've been illegal in the US for a long time. And the short answer is yes. There's no restrictions on someone applying just because they've been out of status in a country. However, you do need to be able to show that you meet all of the eligibility requirements for one of the Canadian immigration programs, the Canadian Experience Class, but really for you, it's the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the Federal Skilled Trade Program. So you still have to meet those minimum entry criteria for those programs, and then you have to rank high enough. So work experience in a foreign country, if you are out of status, is still possible to count. You can still count it, but it always comes down to whether or not you have a high enough comprehensive ranking system score to succeed. And I'll be honest, I found a lot of people when they're trying to apply as a principal applicant, well, if they've been out of status in the US, for example, for a long time, often they don't have the level of human capital needed to reach the minimum, the pass mark. And right now, as we know, 440 is the lowest that it's ever gone this year. So understand that if you are illegal in another country, that doesn't preclude you from counting your work experience in that country. You cannot count any Canadian work experience, if you're out of status or anything like that. You have to have had lawful status in Canada. So be aware of that. That's super important to understand. Now, to address Mario's specific question, he said that his spouse, well, I shouldn't say it's Mario because he's talking hypothetically about people. So the person, if your spouse is on a valid study permit in the US and they're studying and you're both Colombian, there's no problem at all with being included as a dependent on that application. The only caveat I will say is that you have to be otherwise admissible to Canada. So you have to be able to pass your medical and police clearances. And sometimes there are certain situations, I'll say, and I'm not going to get into too much detail, but sometimes people end up with criminal records on their FBI clearance when they're requesting it. Because remember, even if you're in the US out of status, you still have to request an FBI clearance to see what's on your record and provide that to IRCC in the context of your express entry application. And so as long as it's clear, there's no offense or anything that you've been charged with, or I should say convicted with, or both, I guess, that would constitute something that would make you inadmissible to Canada, then you're free to apply. All right. So great question, Mario. I appreciate that one. I've got that one. I'm going to set them aside instead of throwing them into the air today so that I can timestamp all of this within the description. And one thing I'm going to ask you guys as well, some of you are starting to post questions already. I'm going to ask you to hold off because I'm not going to review those until I get through these paper ones first. And then once I get to those, then I will jump on and answer all of those live comments. So one thing I do want to point out too, or maybe a question I want to ask you guys, if you could do me a favor, when the time comes and you are asking your question live, when you hear me answer it, if you could just take a look at the time and post the timestamp beside your question, then the viewers who are watching this as a recording will be able to just skip directly to it if they want to know where your answer came in. And so that's one way of doing it. But I'll also try to put the timestamp, at least for these ones here, the paper ones, directly into the description. Okay, next question is from Amina. Amina says, Dear Mark, I hope you'll be able to clarify this for us. My question is that my employer doesn't have a website or any online presence. Would that be a problem when proving work experience? Well, Amina, the officers can look at everything when they're trying to determine whether or not they believe your work experience is genuine. When it comes to your own personal document checklist that is generated within the eAPR section of your express entry application, all that is requested is the letter from your employer, meeting all of those requirements, which we've talked about in the past. But for those of you who are new and are just tuning in, I'm just going to jump over here to my screen. I'm going to blow this up big. Hopefully it's not going to cut off too much. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type up. This is the place where you get all your information. It's called the Express Entry Completeness Check. And so this one, and I'm going to try to make this nice and big so that everybody can see it. So if you search for this right there, applications for permanent residence program subject to the Express Entry Completeness Check, this is the source of a lot of information on what you need to do to make sure your documents meet the minimum requirements of IRCC. So if I'm here and then I go to work experience, I just jump down to it here. I'm going to try and keep this up high so that everybody can see. And it doesn't look like I'm blocking it off too much, maybe a little bit here. I'm going to shrink this one down just a wee bit here so that my screen is not getting blocked by my image there. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. So in here, you can see for work experience, it doesn't specifically ask, and I better find it again here. There it is. It doesn't specifically say anything about being able to prove that your company is actually in operation. Now, obviously, that comes without saying. It needs to be. But what you have an obligation of providing is your experience or reference letter from the employer that has all of the essential components to it. And you can see here that it should indicate all positions held while employed at the company. And I'm bringing this up because, I have another question from another listener that kind of addresses this part. But the letter must include the following details. So job title, duties, responsibilities, job status, dates worked for the company, number of work hours per week, and benefits. So in that, you can see you have to provide the letter, and then you can see here it also indicates if the work experience is in Canada, then you might want to provide T4 tax information slips by Canada Revenue Agency. Okay, and so and they say just provide them for the years that you're actually claiming work experience. So I bring that up just as a little bit of a little notification and a little heads up that those are basically the requirements that you need to provide when you're showing work experience. But if for whatever reason an officer has a desire to inquire or to look into the legitimacy of your employer, well, they can always do that. And obviously, the first place they're going to look is to Google search for it. So if the company doesn't have an online presence, that's becoming more and more rare. And in those circumstances, it is what it is. You can't just create a website for a company that you are working for. But remember, they always have the ability first to contact your employer based on the information that you've provided in your reference letter. So really, in your situation, Amina, I wouldn't stress too much about it because ultimately you've got you're going to have a reference letter that hopefully is pretty complete, and then from there, an officer can decide what they want to do. But it's not a specific mandatory requirement that an employer actually has a website for their business. But it sure would be great if there was something associated with it. Okay, next question. This one is for Gurmangeet, and we'll put in here about 1649. He says, thank you for the good that you do and for answering with infinite patience. And it's interesting with this, guys, because I get a lot of these questions over and over again. So they kind of cycle over and over. And so I'm slowly starting to create individual videos that address specific areas. And one of the things that I've thought about lately, lots of people will book consultations with me, and I charge $210 Canadian for a 30-minute consult. And in many cases, and I don't charge less than that. So I don't just offer a 5-minute consult or a 10-minute consult because it's not, it just doesn't make economic sense for me to do that because of everything that I have to do on the side of my law firm to do the billing and the invoicing. It doesn't pay for me to do that, such the short little consults. But sometimes people have questions that are just related to one area. Work experience, proof of funds, or things like that. And so one thing that I'm going to start in the future is little master classes that maybe people will pay $25 Canadian or something like that, or 25 US, to have access to a Zoom call where I talk specifically about proof of work experience or challenging areas associated with collecting reference letters from employers, and take the opportunity to specifically answer people's questions within it. And so I may start doing those master classes as another way to offer a service to everybody in the way that people actually need it and want it. But remember as well, like I said before, I created the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide for all of you guys, which is embedded with a ton of really, really good information, prior videos, really detailed videos that are not available publicly, that are only available within the EE Live. EE Live, I'm getting confused here. Only available within my Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide. All right, so back to Gurmangeet's question here. So he says, the plethora of queries that are thrown your way. Okay, yes, infinite patience with the plethora. Look at those big words. That's awesome, Gate. Okay, I have two quick queries. You have repeatedly said that payslips are optional. Hey, this sounds familiar. My query is, if required, are income tax return forms acceptable in lieu of payslips for old jobs? And are reference letters stating salary enough in the case of current jobs, especially if I do not plan to use the current job for points? Okay, so there's a couple different questions here that Gate is asking. The first question is whether or not these payslips are mandatory. Well, they're clearly optional. If you have them, the document checklist says, provide them. But if you don't, then absolutely 100%. If you've got a tax return, an annual return that shows specifically how much you were paid over the course of that year, that's wonderful. That's great. You can use that absolutely, hands down. And then you indicate something about reference letters stating salary. Is it enough in the case of a current job, even if you don't plan to use the current job for points? Well, if you don't plan to use the current job for points, then you're not going to list it in your work history, and you're not going to have to provide a reference letter for it if it's not listed. So please understand that you, if you're not claiming comprehensive ranking system points for your work history, then don't include it in there, okay? It will be included, however, in your personal history. So make sure that you do absolutely include all of that when you're documenting your personal history. Okay, and then the second question here Gate asks is, how is the work eligibility assessed in terms of hours if the minimum continuous work experience is partly full-time work followed by some part-time work? Okay, that question, obviously, they're going to have to take it into blocks, but remember, it's just going to carry forward. As long as it's continuous, there shouldn't be any restriction in you being able to go from full-time to part-time to full-time, as long as you never dip below that 15 hours. Now, technically speaking, full-time, 1 year, that's the minimum. But if you have part-time, then you're going to have to work essentially 2 years to accumulate it. So although this situation has never been addressed by any of my clients, from a legal standpoint, there should be no issues with the officer actually tabulating your work history essentially on a month by month basis. So if you worked 5 months full-time and then you shifted to part-time, then essentially the time you're working as part-time, it should take you 2 months to accumulate the equivalent of 1 month of full-time, and then that should just add sequentially. So that's, I believe, how they should calculate that. But like you said, immigration, each officer has the ability and the discretion to determine how they're adjudicating the applications. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen people who've gone through, they've done something a certain way, they've been successful, and then they go and tell the world that this is the way you do it. When in fact, maybe they were just lucky. Maybe the officer that was adjudicating their application let something slide that normally would result in a rejection. And so then people assume that because it worked for one person, it's going to work for everybody else. And that is not the case. So understand, every officer has discretion. They can use it in your favor, or they can use it against you. So if they choose not to accept something that you've submitted as being sufficient, then they're full within their right to return the application, as long as it is within the confines of the actual law and the legal provisions. So there you go, Gate. Says, thank you for your consideration. You are a star. Flattery will get you everywhere, you guys. May health and happiness abound for you and your loved ones. Thanks so much. That's very, very kind, Gate. Okay, next question is Abdullo. And the question is, hi, Mark. I have a question about NOC codes, and I hope it will be helpful for everyone in the group. When doing a research, I noticed that some NOC codes contain more than one profession under them. For example, if you take a look at NOC code 5241, it contains 2 professions, graphic designer and illustrator, under it, as well as separate duties and responsibilities for each profession. Could you please explain how we should approach this when drafting our reference letter? Is it okay if we just pick one profession out of it that matches more with our duties and responsibilities, or our duties and responsibilities should match all of the professions listed? Thank you very much for great work you're doing. Really appreciate your support, and may God bless you. Regards, Abdullo. Now, I want to say this is actually a really good question. So this is an opportunity to jump on and share my screen with you guys again. So I'm going to share it, and we're going to go here to NOC 2016. We're going to pull up this NOC, and we're actually going to type in, let's see here. There we go. It's pretty big. So I'm going to type in 5241, which is the position that Abdullah had indicated. So if we go here, you can see this is what he's referring to. So graphic designers and illustrators. And he says, look, it contains two different positions. So graphic designers and illustrators. So here's graphic designers and here is illustrators. And the answer when you're looking, maybe I'll just shrink this down if I can. I'll make it just a little bit smaller so that everybody can see it just a little bit better. Well, you can see it together. Anyway, so you can see within this page, there are two different positions, both contained within the same NOC. When you're determining whether your NOC is the proper one, you need to show that you have performed or that you've completed all of the activities in the lead statement, obviously that apply to your position. And you can see here, it talks specifically about graphic designers and what they do up here. And then it covers illustrators here. So depending on which one fits your actual position, you need to show that you've done all those activities and then that you've completed or performed a substantial number of these main duties. Usually we use about 75% as a guideline, but it's not a hard and fast rule. So substantially is really, a substantial number is usually about 75%. So here's for graphic designers. Here it is for illustrators. And all you have to do, Abdullah, is just choose which one you're going to do. And then you only need to demonstrate the duties listed under the position that you are, that you're indicating is your equivalent to your foreign work experience or Canadian work experience, whatever it is. And then you can see here, employment requirements also. You can see these employment requirements, and this is something that people get really confused about, do not apply at all. So you can ignore these. For the purposes of express entry and immigrating to Canada, foreign work experience is only determined based on performing the duties and the activities in the lead statement here. Okay, so that was a great question, and I hope that helped. And once again, I am forgetting to document when I started answering these questions. So maybe I'll put about 23 minutes there. I don't know, whatever. I really need an assistant helping me, that's for sure. Okay, Ankur, the question for Ankur says, hi Mark, it was a great session by you. So this was actually after the session last Tuesday, last week. I have a query and it would be great if you could help me out in this. My question is as follows. I have submitted my eAPR, and I'll make a note here. I have submitted my eAPR and for one of my previous employers, I forgot to mention all my designations over there. I held two positions, but only the latest position is mentioned in my reference letter. All of my documents have the same designation except for one of my salary slips, which mentions my previous designation. Will it be a problem? Generally speaking, Ankur, this isn't a problem. Ideally, you want to list all of your duties. And if we go back to my website, and you'll remember we covered this just briefly here, you'll remember that if we go back here, it says that you should indicate all positions held while employed at the company. So that's the ideal. So that's where you want to shoot for. But the reality is, if you've already filed your eAPR, you can't make any changes. So you're kind of stuck. So then it comes down to the discretion of the officer. And if you're not claiming any comprehensive ranking system points, work history, for your previous position, then it's probably not the end of the world. But I would hope that in your personal history, which you haven't indicated here, that you did disclose that you were working for that company through that whole period of time. And so that's where you would account for the other work experience. Now, I'll tell you, it can get a little bit complicated when you are trying to be honest and list all your work experience, while at the same time not triggering a need to provide a reference letter that you're not getting any points for. So it's a little bit of a delicate balance, but I always try to list the positions. And then when it comes to the actual work history, I only list the time period for the position that I actually want to claim points for. So if you had a previous designation that was, say, low skill, for instance, then you don't need to indicate that in the work history. I just start the time in the work history section from the period that I actually want to claim points for. So hopefully that answers your question, but good question and good luck. It's completely up to the officer, but I don't think they're going to give you too much of a hassle on that one, but anything is possible. Okay, Harish asks this question, and I'll make a note of that. Okay, Harish says, hi, under the Canadian Experience, I'm assuming Canadian Experience class, what documents are to be included for the proof of funds section? And if I have a valid job offer and working, do I need to still show the proof of funds? And I'm single too. Okay. Thank you in anticipation. You rock. All right, Harish, this is a great question. So those of you who've been following Express Entry for quite a while probably realize that when it comes to, and I'm going to type in here, proof of funds, CIC, CEC. Let's see. When it comes to proof of funds, there's a lot of different little helps that the government can give you, but I'll just pull up this one because it gives specific instructions on how to deal with that. If you are applying under the Canadian Experience class, you actually do not need to provide settlement funds. And so you can see if you're applied under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, I think everybody can see this okay. Yeah, they should be able to. I'll make it just a little bit larger. Okay, so if you're applying under the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the Federal Skilled Trades Program, you do need to show that you meet the settlement fund requirements, unless you're working in Canada and have a valid job offer. And so then it tells you what you need to provide to satisfy that. But you can see here, note, you do not have to meet the fund requirements if you were invited to apply into the Canadian Experience class. And I won't go back to the actual regulations that specifically state that within the Immigration Act, but we'll just leave it at this. That is the answer. And so if you don't need to provide funds, you must upload a letter explaining either that you have been invited to apply under the Canadian Experience class or that you have a valid job offer. So often when you answer the question in the Express Entry, in the eAPR, when you're filing your actual application, it'll ask how much funds you have to support yourself. And many people will honestly put in whatever amount that they have. That will often then trigger a proof of funds portal, a spot opened up in the document checklist for you to upload your proof of funds. Well, when that happens, in that spot, just upload exactly what we have here. I'll flip back here. Just upload a letter explaining that you have been invited to apply under the Canadian Experience class, or that you have a valid job offer, whichever is applicable. So that's essentially how you deal with that one. So good question, Harish. And the last one, this question is from Lewis, and we're actually burning through this pretty quick, guys. So I'm actually pretty happy about this. We'll have lots of time to answer listener questions today. So those of you who've been so patient, I will definitely be getting to the vast majority of you today. Okay, so Lewis says, hello, Mark, I made edits. Oh, this is a great one. I love this question. I remember when I read it. I know you guys are all pretty much guilty of this to some extent. So he said, I made edits in my profile in the work history section to check if the job title affects the CRS, which of course it doesn't. It has no role whatsoever. But anyways, as my class friend has a different job, but the exact same education and IELTS, I edited the job titles, the NOC codes, the work duration, and employer with all other information correct. So the NOC code, work duration, employer probably wasn't correct. But the other stuff is passport, ECA, whatever. Then he deleted and created a new profile to avoid any confusion. So he basically was using the first profile as just an experiment to just see how it worked and what the point totals were that were generated and those kinds of things. And then he actually went in and created a new one with all correct information. Now he says, but I'm still worried. Will this previous profile lead to some problem? Will this be taken into account and considered as a misrepresentation? Misrepresentation only exists, Lewis, when you're filing your eAPR. So technically speaking, you can put whatever you want in your profile. And when you submit it, there's an obligation that your answers are truthful. And so, obviously you're going to want to answer your answers. I wonder if I can go in here. Do you know what, guys? While you guys are here, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to pull up an actual profile because I want to show you guys. I wonder if I can do it. It'd probably take too long. Do you know what? I can't. I'm not going to do it. I was going to go into my representative portal and actually show you guys, and actually show you what the final confirmation is when you're submitting your profile. But there is an obligation that you're going to answer those things truthfully when you actually submit a profile. So will it come back and can it be considered misrepresentation? No, not from a legal standpoint. They can't find you to have misrepresented yourself in an expression of interest, essentially submitting your EE profile. But it's not something that I would advise anyone to do. So then it comes back to, well, how or if any impact will this have on my application? Well, submitting an express entry profile, even though it's not a formal application, I can tell you that IRCC, the officers, do look at those. They can see historically what's been submitted, and they can go back and look at it. And so, in all honesty, if there is any confusion, I would almost provide a letter explaining I'd submitted a previous profile, but I made mistakes when I was entering it. And so it's corrected, and the information in this profile is correct. So sometimes I would even address it head on. I always like to address it head on. And, you can even, when it comes to completing your profile, like I said before, it's technically not an application, but officers who are assessing, let's say someone who wants to go visit or study in Canada, I do know that they look at profiles that have been submitted, and they will almost, in some cases, they will use that against a person who's applying for temporary status as evidence that they actually want to immigrate. And sometimes they'll use it as a ground for refusing. And I've seen it. So understand that it's not everything that you submit to the government, it's serious. And you need to make sure that you're not just using it in a way that you're just kind of playing around. If you're using it as that purpose, you have to be prepared that it can come back to bite you. And I guess that's a plug for me, right? That's a plug for our office. If you have questions or doubts, you're better off reaching out to us and getting a direct answer than experimenting on your own in ways that could create unforeseen consequences. So Lewis, I don't know for certain. I don't think it shouldn't impact too negatively for you. But if you haven't yet filed your eAPR, then I would, if you haven't got an ITA, you might want to just explain why you had a previous profile that you canceled. And if in fact an officer decides to go back and see there's totally different information in that one compared to the current one, because it will come back to credibility, whether or not they actually believe that what you have in your current one is real, or whether it was just modified or fabricated to give you more comprehensive ranking system points. So be aware, it can come back to bite you. So, all right, there you go, Lewis. Great question. And I think now, guys, we are at the stage where we are ready to answer live listener questions. So like I said before, when I am scrolling up on my phone here, and you can see Ralph, my awesome favoritist client, he is watching. How are you doing, Ralph? I can see here. And he says, hello to you. So when I'm going through and scrolling back and forth through all of the comments, sometimes my finger will brush on one of the emojis, a thumbs up or a heart. And a couple times I've accidentally put an angry face on the comment. So that's just because of doing this in the group and me trying to scroll up, and I'll just show you here if I can, trying to scroll up through your comments here. So when I do that, sometimes when I'm trying to scroll up, I can't even do it here. It's when I'm trying to scroll up here, like this. Oh man, I can't even demonstrate it. It's so small. My fingers are so fat that sometimes I will accidentally put an angry face by your comment. So please don't get offended. All right. So Ralph is going to be the starting point. So if you want to post your comments after Ralph's hello, I will start responding to them now. And so so you can post your comments now, and I will try to go through systematically answering those questions. In the interim, I just want to remind everybody, and like I said, I went back and I actually modified. It's not here. I modified. I don't know what I'm typing in here. The cover page, there we go. Okay, for our group, Let's see if I can go back. Man, I'm all over the place here, guys. You just have the pleasure of watching me fumble around here, trying to find the right things. So, oh, looks like we got a few more people that want to join here. I wonder if they're waiting to try to access. So we'll just, I'll show you guys too, the way that I approve. So I take a look and my moderators do the same thing. So Nisit requested a few seconds ago. He looks like a real person. He hasn't answered all the questions, which kind of irritates me a little bit, but I do try to be kind of kind. So I'll approve him. And then I go to this person. Looks to me like some type of a CEO at International Law Corp. Well, that doesn't even sound real. What do you think? Should we invite this person in? I'm going to leave that one. I'll let my moderator sort that one out, but it looks like it's not even a real person. Anyways, and then we scroll through here. Amin hasn't responded to any questions. Miriam hasn't. Navdeep. See, a lot of these people haven't. But here we go. Abdullah says, I would plan to apply for permanent residence in Canada. Approve. So instantly people who actually answer the questions get approved. The other ones actually go through somewhat of a more fulsome examination. So you can see joined Facebook on August the 3rd, 2018. It sure seems to me like they're just kind of a scammer. I'm going to decline this person. Okay. Anyway, so just for your information, that's kind of how we go through the process of loosely of whether or not we'll admit people in, because remember, this is a private group. Okay. Another thing I want to show you guys here. Remember the cover page. So the 60% off lifetime access, all you have to do is go to CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com and then in the lifetime access, click on the coupon code and then type in EEDIY summer. And that will allow you to have access at a pretty low rate. Like we're talking under $200 US for a lifetime access. And I think I'm probably going to start going more to that versus the monthly subscription, because I'm just working through an issue with one of my clients right now where they did not realize that the subscription automatically renews each month. And so for the last 7 months, they've been paying $97 US each month. And for whatever reason, they didn't realize it. Now, I'm not sure why, because I always tell everybody that it is an automatic renewal. And in fact, I did that because some people were frustrated when their subscription expired and then they lost access to their site. And then they had to go in manually and enter it all in again. And so to deal with that, I just had it automatically renew, and then people can cancel whenever they want. So, but essentially right now I'm giving lifetime access for effectively 2 months subscription. So the equivalent of paying, for 2 months, you're getting lifetime access. So that, guys, will expire tomorrow at midnight. So if you do want to take advantage of it, do it now. And you'll remember from my video last week, excuse me, I'll just jump in here and I'll just show you one last thing, and then we'll get back to all the listeners' questions that have been pooling up here. But when you go here and you click in enroll, one-time lifetime access, enroll in course, and you can see it's regular $497 US. And then when you're here, you add a coupon, and then this is where you type in EEDIYSUMMER. And then when you click apply, see if it likes it. There you go. So you're actually getting $300 off. It's $198.80 is what it's being offered at. All right. So, but within this, I'm just going to jump back here to the previous screen. And I'm going to jump into the course myself. And I want to show you guys near the bottom here, I have added a bunch of new videos, some of my best content ever. This one here is a very detailed video specifically on claiming work experience, all the ins and outs, the problems, drafting your letters, everything associated with it. And it's not just that one. Actually, I better go back here. I have specific videos, new ones that I've added, my very, very best content, how to increase my language score, eligibility, how to increase my chances of getting an ITA. Let's keep this up here. Even job offers. What is it? Why are they so hard to get? proof of funds, police clearances, dependent family. This one is my personal favorite. How dependent family members can mess up your express entry application. And it's situations that are so common. And so all of that is available within this, not to mention every aspect of the whole process, right? From beginning all the way to the end, completing your profile. Each lesson, and I broke them down into bite-sized pieces, is attributed to each section within the actual Express Entry MyCIC portal. And you can see once you get your how to update your profile after it's been submitted, receiving your invitation to apply, completing your eAPA forms, the whole application process, whether you're an applicant, a principal applicant, if you've got a spouse, there's a section for spouses and for dependent children. And so when you go through all of this, you can see you can upload your documents and filing the eAPR, and lots of information within the document checklist. And so if I click on this, and I'm going to stop this before it starts talking too quick, we have the actual document checklist. And I've included a bunch of other sample documents, links to help you, common things that are often included, sample medical examinations, what your employer reference letter should look like, job offer letter templates, just a bunch, RCMP clearances, what the apprenticeship looks like. There's just a bunch of documents here, all samples for you to look at and basically check out. All right, I better shut that off. Okay, so that's the course. That's what's available, and it's expiring tomorrow. And I can guarantee it's not going to drop below that again. Okay, it is now time. It is time to answer your questions live. And I don't know anyone in Facebook land, YouTube, or otherwise that does this, that answers questions right on the fly. So let me see if I can find now where all of these questions start. And the bigger the question, guys, the harder it is for me to read it. So bear with me as I go through this, especially when I'm trying to expand it. Okay, all right, let's see if I can get this without putting too many angry faces in your comments. Okay, Kabir says, how is a score of 411, sir? Kabir, it's highly unlikely you're going to get drawn. 440 at a minimum, and then after that, it just comes down to the provincial nominee programs. If you're working in Alberta for an Alberta employer and you've got a score of 411, it's entirely possible that you would get an expression of interest from the province to go through the Alberta immigrant nominee programs, their express entry stream, which is really new. But aside from that, Kabir, it's very, very unlikely that you would be drawn with a score of 411. Okay, let's see. Carolyn says, let's see if we can read this. Hi, Mark. Hope you're well. Do I need to show my outstanding mortgage balance? On one hand, is it a debt? But on one hand, it is a debt. But on the other hand, it is pretty meaningless unless, oh, this is hard to read. Pretty meaningless unless, I think I need to do this a different way. These longer ones are hard to read. I'm probably like putting angry faces. I can see now. This is really hard actually to read this. Bear with me, guys. Okay, I'm going to shift this way. Okay. These longer ones are really tough. Oh, and look at that. And actually, I did put an angry face beside Carolyn's question. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so here we go. Now I can read it. Okay, do I need to show my outstanding mortgage balance? On one hand, it is a debt, but on the other hand, it is pretty meaningless unless the value of the house is included. But this is not accepted by IRCC as it can fluctuate. Also, do I need to show credit cards that are with a bank that I don't have a bank account with? I hope that makes sense. Thank you, Mark. Okay, I can tell you when it comes to mortgages and things like that, I don't usually worry about those things too much. But I can tell you when it comes to credit cards, if you're looking at the letter of the law, in other words, specifically if you're looking just at what IRCC is asking, I'll show here. If we go back to this one here, and then we go to proof of funds. There we go. And these are the specific requirements for the government. So I always follow specifically what they say. So the letter from the bank lists all current bank and investment accounts as well as outstanding debts such as credit card debts and loans. So do you need to provide it? Yes, if you're following specifically what IRCC asks you to do. Now, I can tell you there are people all over the world, all over internet land and Facebook land that will tell you, Carolyn, that you don't need to worry about your visas if they're not in the same bank that you're providing your funds for. But technically speaking, it does ask for you to provide your credit card debts and loans. And so I will leave that up to you to decide how you want to proceed. But you can see here, it must be printed on letterhead. It has to include the account numbers, the date it was opened, and the current balances of each, as well as the average balance for the past 6 months. And that is the specific requirements for proof of funds from the government. So ultimately, it comes down to you and what you want to do. But when I'm advising my clients, I always try to comply fully with whatever the government asks. I've never had a person have any issues not providing credit card balances from other banks. Like I've never seen anyone come back to me and say they got refused because they suspected that someone had a credit card debt somewhere else. But understand, if you have okay, so in the context of a mortgage, for instance, let's say you own a massive home, it's worth 5 million US, and it requires you to make $12,000 a month payments. And that's an obligation that you have to make those payments. And the house isn't selling, or you don't have an intention to sell. Well, technically speaking, when they're looking at proof of funds holistically, that could result in them determining you don't have funds to establish yourself in Canada. So everything is contextual, but they look at everything in a holistic way. If you've got loans, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to take a $20,000 loan and count it against your proof of funds. They don't do that. But they could look at the payments that you have to pay and see how that factors into the money you actually have set aside to establish yourself in Canada. So they look at everything holistically. All right. So great question, Carolyn. And I hope that gave you a little bit of a response. Okay. All right. So then we have Christina is next. And I would ask you, Carolyn, can you go in and edit your comment and just put in the timestamp for when I answered that, which was 50 minutes. Okay, Christina says, an employer doesn't want to include job duties and description. Let's see if I can get this to open up again. Okay, employer doesn't want to include job duties. Man, I can't believe I'm having so much trouble with my comments, especially the longer ones, guys. I don't usually have this much problem, but oh man, this is so frustrating. I'm really having trouble scrolling up and actually looking at the comments, so I apologize for this. Can't believe this. So painful. Just expand it, seriously. I think they're doing this on purpose just to make my life miserable. Let me see if I can shift it back this way. You guys are super patient, and I appreciate that. I can't even look at it. You guys are going to have to keep your questions really short because it's just, okay, I'm going to try something else here. Bear with me. Bear with me. This is the high production value you're getting here, but hey, it's got to be entertaining watching me fumble around trying to get this to work. I can't believe it's such a pain. Okay, I'm going to try to keep the volume down, keep it off, and blow it up. Blow that off. Okay. Bear with me as I try to find the actual live video. Okay, here it is. And let's see if I can get to the comments properly. There's nothing quite like trying to listen to yourself. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. All right. I think now I can see them a little bit better. Okay, here we go. Okay, I've now, I think, figured out a workaround because obviously my phone is not working. Okay, so back to the question that was asked from Christina. So she said an employer doesn't want to include job duties and description because they said it's worked before for other clients. Oh my goodness. Can you show your offer letter and or contract that has job duties listed to supplement this issue? Yes, you can, Christina. And for my clients, I actually have a very detailed video, and also for those who are in the, who subscribe to the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide, I have a special video that addresses this exact situation. What do you do if you can't get a reference letter? But if you go, and Christina, I'm going to see if I can maybe even put this link up for you later, but on my YouTube channel, and I'll just share my screen with you guys. So on my YouTube channel here, I can open it up. Someone was sad there. Look at that. We have over 9,000 subscribers. In my videos, I think I have, let's see here if I do it. I'm trying to remember if I have a tip of the day. Okay, here we go. So I do have a free resource. It's had about 1.2 views. I'll put the link here. I'll copy this link and I'll post it for you. But this describes what to do if your employer won't give you a reference letter. And let's see if I can find that comment. Oh, I remember why I don't like doing it on my desktop, because the comments keep resetting. Every time I try to answer a question, then I have to scroll back up to where I left off. I'm going to figure out a workaround. And one of the workarounds may just be doing it on the Express Entry page. Oh man, I can't even specifically answer Christina. I guess I'll just have to put it in the general comments. Okay, so if you scroll down in the comments, you'll see I just posted what to do if your employer won't give you a reference letter, and yeah, and we can sort that out after. But essentially, you do the best you can. So you try to accommodate for all of those specific things that IRCC is asked for within the employer reference letter. If the employer won't give them because they're being stupid, which clearly yours is, just because it worked for other people, this is a classic thing. You'd never want to trust that or rely on that. So go out of your way to try to give them exactly what they want. And if you have an offer letter, or if you have something else that has your duties in it or another job description, then absolutely include that with your application. Okay, good question. All right, Amrit Paul says, Mark, I'm working on 2 positions at the same time, as an access teacher with U.S. Embassy and as an ESL instructor. Okay, I'm not quite sure what the question is there, Amrit Paul. If they're the same, it all comes down to the same NOC code. If they're the same NOC code, then you can count them continuously. You can work at 2 positions part-time that can be considered full-time for the purposes of work experience, but they don't have enough information there, Amrit Paul. Giandio says, hey, Mark, what a coincidence that I'm in cinema and watching you live. Awesome. Great. Okay. Rizzy says, hi. Mark, I need assistance regarding university admission. Rizzy, I don't offer that service, so you're going to have to seek that help somewhere else. Muniza did something which is awesome. She tagged Haroon, and who's already a member of this group, to let them know about the actual EE Live Q&A. So good. Okay, Sushil says, hi, Mark. I have an experience of 3 years in a company. I've been working there full-time since December of 2015. 16, 17, 18. So that's not 3 years. Okay. Unless my math is not very good. But I have completed my bachelor's only on November of 2016. Will that 1 year before my graduation count as full-time job? I get this question a lot. And the same thing, Sushil. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to go back to my YouTube channel. You guys better all subscribe to this, because I'll be honest, this is the source of a lot of good information. Okay, here's the question. Does my education need to match my work experience? This is a good one. And so it has some elements of what we're talking about in this one. I'll post this one in the comments as well. And I'm going to scroll back here. Let's see here. I'm sharing my screen, make sure I've got the right. So there's that. And I'm just gonna jump back. Bear with me here as I'm messing around a little bit. Let's see here. I'm trying to think if I covered this topic. You know what? Nope, I didn't. This is one of the ones that is that's in my private access. So going back to the question again. The question was, and once again, it's constantly kicking me back down, so bear with me. So 3 years in the company. If you have, let me just, so Sushil says, I've completed my bachelor's only on November of 2016. So the question is, if you haven't completed your degree yet, is that going to be a problem? And this comes back to the sections that we were talking about with the work the NOC profile, and this is where I get a lot of confusion. So if you go back, and we'll go here to these positions. So you remember, this is the NOC, and this is one profile as an example, graphic designers and illustrators. So if you go down here, you'll see that there is a section here, employment requirements. Guys, this doesn't apply to claiming work history. So it doesn't matter whether or not you actually hold a university degree in visual arts, even if it is required based on the NOC. That only applies if you're coming to work in Canada on a work permit. The reality is, if you are, if you have performed a substantial number of these main duties, then that's sufficient. So your question that you asked, and once again, I'm having to scroll back up here. The question that you asked, Sushil, there shouldn't be any issues as long as you've actually performed a substantial number of the main duties. So as long as you've met those requirements, then whether or not you completed your education before or after shouldn't be an issue. Now, it plays a factor if the officer actually believes you've performed those duties, but in many countries, they don't have the same expectations or standards that Canada has in terms of fulfilling those positions. So I just thought hopefully that one helped. Okay, so Sheil, great. Okay, Manal says, hi Mark, my husband's sister is a permanent resident holder, but we don't wish to claim sibling points. So we answered no to sibling in Canada. We received the ITA without these points. However, we have mentioned her details in the personal history section. Would this be considered as misrepresentation? I get this a lot, all the time. And I'll be honest, I would actually provide a letter of explanation explaining why you answered no. And that, for whatever reason, maybe she isn't in Canada all the time. And or maybe you just don't have a good relationship with her, and so you don't, she won't give you any documentation to help you. And so I would provide a letter of explanation explaining why you answered no, just to clarify that. But I get this a lot, so I understand why you did what you did, putting no, because if you put yes, then you have an obligation to provide that information in the eAPR, and you're also going to get those 15 points that you're going to have to justify. And that could, in some cases, that could be the difference between getting your ITA and not. So just keep in mind that a letter of explanation often is what I will do to explain why I answered no, but I would explain. Okay. Alok says, sir, appointment letter is mandatory while attaching doc after the ITA. No, it's not mandatory. All that's mandatory is the actual, the reference letter, and if you've got some pay stubs, even if they're available. So technically, even they are not mandatory. Now, IRCC can always come back and ask for more information, but there's no obligation to upload your appointment letter or your hiring letter. Okay. Kareem says, I'm 3 years mechanical. This is jumping around here. Okay, I'm 3 years mechanical diploma holder, and in IELTS my score is 6. I have 6 years work experience in machine shop. Okay, Karim, you're not going to qualify. Your English is too low, your IELTS is too low. So you need to figure out a way to increase your IELTS. Altaf, hello sir, I have required amount in my account prior to 6 months. Is it still required to write letter explaining the source of funds? Well, if you got the phones gifted to you, you probably don't need to if it's been in your account for 6 months, but they can always come back and ask. And so if you had a big deposit in your account prior to then by your family, it's not a bad practice to actually provide a gift deed, because an officer could always question with, depending upon your employment income or whatever you're listing as in your reference letter, they could come back and say, well, if you're only making X number of dollars, how did you save that money? And if you had a big cash deposit, it's always a good practice to include it, even though it's been in your account for over 6 months. Many people will tell you not to worry about it, but I don't take chances. I don't. I try to solve and resolve, I should say. I try to contemplate every possible question an officer could have and then give them the answer before they even ask it. That's my practice. Okay, Karam, I told you what your chances are, very low. Cecilia says, could you please repeat the coupon code for the EE course? Okay, Cecilia, if you go into the very banner page, so if we go back to our Facebook page, I'm going to share my screen again. And then if we go Oh, let's see. I'm going to open up a new window here because I don't want to lose this. So if you go back to our Facebook page, oh man, this is so awesome, isn't it, guys? Seriously, just give me the page. Why is it asking me to log in? Okay, so at the very beginning here, you can see that the coupon code is right on the banner page. So it's EEDIY Summer. So go to the banner page for Express Entry Law Group at the top, and you'll see all the information that you need to be able to access it. So good question. All right, we'll continue on. And sometimes I think things are really easy to understand and that it's very clear. But when I have, that's not always the case. And sometimes Facebook doesn't help me at all either. So, okay, so there we go, Cecilia. Good question. If you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, Ram says, when should we upload the docs required? Is it after ITA or at the time of Express Entry filing? Specifically, the employment reference letter and remaining set of docs. Ram, here's how it works. You submit your profile. It asks the basic information to calculate your comprehensive ranking system score. That's then spit out to you, so your score is given. And if your score is high enough, you then at that stage will be granted an ITA. And the rounds of invitations happen every 2 to 3 weeks. And if you rank high enough, you'll receive a notification that you've got an invitation to apply. When you complete your application, you're now at the eAPR stage. Hey, Cecilia, just purchased the course. Awesome, Cecilia, welcome. I hope it works for you. And any questions you have, don't hesitate to ask me. I just got a notification there. Very cool. Okay, so back to the question at hand again. Ram, once you receive your ITA, you then start your eAPR, your electronic application for permanent residence. And that is where you complete all of the information. Once you've finished all the information, and now there's more it's asking. So they're asking your address history. They're asking for details like your personal history and your travel history. So those kinds of questions were not previously asked, but now they're asking for them for you and your spouse, if you have one. And once you've completed all that information, you then click continue, and then it generates your documents, the list, your own personalized document checklist. And that's where you upload everything. And once you've uploaded all your documents, then you file. So that's how it works. Okay, good question. All right. And some people I just assume that everybody knows everything about Express Entry and that everybody, all 116,000 members of our group, have already watched all the previous videos. And I can tell you, if you guys sat down and watched all the videos that I've done, you would be extremely knowledgeable about Express Entry. Okay, Nauman says, I have 16 years of education. Increasing my education to 18 years will increase points for Express Entry. Also having TF will give more points. Okay, Nauman, it depends, my friend. You're only getting points for education that has received an educational credential assessment. I don't know what 16 or 18 years means. All I know is that comprehensive ranking system scores are for education. Those points are only awarded for degrees, for levels of education that you've completed, not just years of study. So all of your education has to be assessed through one of the educational credential assessment agencies. And so if I go back and share my screen again, and then I will click on here, and then I'll put up here ECA, EE, education. That should give me what I need. And then this question and answer gives you the link to where you can get your educational credential assessment done. And these are the different groups. One of the more common ones is WES, World Education Services. However, those guys have refused to come join me on my podcast, so I don't like them anymore. I guess they're already so closely linked with Canada Visa, Mr. Cohen and his massive organization, that I'm just chump change, and my Canadian immigration podcast is just not worthy of them. They didn't even respond to me. Anyway, so World Education Services is what a lot of people do, but any of these are where you go to get your education assessed. And so you can't even claim your education points for education unless you have had it assessed through one of these lovely organizations, just like this. Okay, good question. Okay, so we'll jump back there. And I'll make sure I'm on the right page here, and then scroll back up to where I left off. Wow, there's lots of questions, guys. Okay, here we go. Okay, and TEF. Oh, he also asked, Nauman asked about the TEF. I guess I'll jump back and I'll share my screen one more time. And this time I'm going to go to CRS criteria, EE. And if you look here, when it comes to comprehensive ranking system points, last year, this is what really threw it off for people who are overseas. When they started granting points for French language ability and for siblings in Canada, that's when it started causing problems. So you can see here, you get 15 extra points if your TEF is at least a CLB, a score is a 7 or higher, and you have at least a 4 in English. But if you have a 7 or higher and a 5 in English, then you can get 30 points. So there actually is a whack of points that's available, including you can see the brothers and sisters. So the answer is unequivocally yes, you absolutely can get more points. Okay, let's see. So good question. Okay, seriously. Excuse me. I'm looking here at this one, Megamind. That is awesome. I guess your parents really had high ambitions for you. They thought you were going to be super, super intelligent. And so therefore, who cares about our family's last name and first name? We're just going to call you Megamind. I guess that's like, let's see, the NBA basketball player. Anyone watch NBA basketball? I can't remember what his name is, but Meta World Peace. He changed his name. I can't remember what his previous name was. Anyways, that's a separate tangent, but I get a kick out of that. Mega, you just made my day. Who knows what your real name is? Okay, but notwithstanding that, because it's so funny, I will respond to your question. So Megamind, one of my university denied to send my educational transcripts to ICAS. What should I do? Please suggest. I tried almost everything. Megamind, I wish I could tell you that there's an easy solution to this, but you're basically screwed. If you cannot get your educational institution to cooperate and send your transcripts and everything to the Educational Credential Assessment Agency, it won't work. And there is no workaround. So stay on them, force them, get a lawyer to sue them if they don't provide it. Do whatever it takes, because without it, you're not getting into the you're not getting your ECA. Okay, Alok says, is it required a job appointment letter? Okay, I already answered that one. The answer is no. Bella, oh, hi, Mark. Just want to say hi. Awesome. Bella is watching. Bella and Ralph are my two favorite clients of all time. And Bella, I am so looking forward to coming up to Edmonton to see Jaden. I am so excited. You guys should go back and watch Bella. I don't know if you're still watching or not, probably not. But yeah, the video I did with Bella, and she shared her story. It's on the Canadian Immigration Institute. And you guys can just go there and search for Bella and that video. And it was totally worth watching. It was awesome. And you'll know why I just love Bella and her family. Okay. Bishnu says, hi, Mark. Hi. Samita says, hi. Hi, Samita. Shan says, oh, from India, listening in. Awesome. And Ziad says, what is the best province to grant PNP for IT expert with 17 years of experience? Okay, Ziad, I can't answer that question. That involves a whole host of things, because it's not just that. It's not just IT. It depends on your NOC code. It depends on a bunch of different things, okay? So it's not possible for me to answer that one. Thota says, it's best, definitely. I would recommend the course. Oh, thanks, Thota. That's awesome. I appreciate that, my friend. Very cool. Like, yeah, I can tell you guys all day that I think the course is awesome and it's going to help all of you guys. But ultimately, it doesn't even make a difference what I say, because it's just self-serving. But I created it for you. I created it so that you guys could avoid some of the most common pitfalls. Does it answer every single question that you could possibly have? No. But I'll also tell you guys that anyone who subscribes to it, I actually give them 50% off on a consult with me as well. So anyone who subscribes to the course can have a 30-minute consult with me for basically and I guess it's $5 Canadian. So, but I don't advertise that, because that's just a perk for people. I guess I just did advertise that. It's essentially a perk for those who have purchased the course. And because it takes so much time for me to do this, and I've told you guys repeatedly, I don't make a living out of doing this. I really don't. My income is made doing the other legal stuff and working with large multinational companies. I just had a consult with a large health authority here in Canada with some issues they're having with foreign doctors. I do work for global companies, and the business side is far more lucrative than this. But I do this because of all the people who connect with me, who really don't have anywhere to turn, who end up relying on crooked consultants and agents overseas who have no clue what they're doing except stealing people's money. And there's lawyers out there too that are just dabbling and don't really know any more than you do about immigration. But the one difference between the lawyer and the consultant is at least the lawyer knows where they can go to review the law, to actually read the regulations, and hopefully take the time to educate themselves. And so anyways, I created the guide. I created all of this just to help people from being exploited. So anyways, take it for what it's worth. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Okay, Zathoda, thanks so much for that vote of confidence there. Hassan says, with the above score, is it possible to get PR in Canada? 395? Nope. Very unlikely, Hassan, through the general stream. Okay, and Tina gives me a thumbs up. Great, thanks, Tina. Christina is back again. She says an employer doesn't want, I think I already responded to this one, Christina, to include job duties. Yeah, so I already responded to that one. Newman, same story. Priya, my brother has worked as a software engineer for 2 years, and then, okay, this might be a little bit more than I can answer, Priya, but let's see. My brother is worked as a software engineer for 2 years, and then he promoted to a manager. Okay, so he first, NOC was 2173, then it changed. Man, you guys are posting your questions so fast, I keep skipping, and I can't, I can't read these comments. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, I think I just lost my place here. Okay, Priya, here we go. I'm sorry, guys. I will figure out a better way to do this. I really will. But I'm struggling to stay on top of this as the videographer, the lawyer, the graphic artist, the technical support. So bear with me. Okay, Priya, my brother has worked as a software engineer for 2 years, and then he was promoted to manager. His first NOC was 2173, then it changed. So my doubt is that will he get 13 points in eligibility, point 67, and the 3-year experience point express entry if he is applying to the NOC 2173 ring for a reply. Okay, I think I understand what you're asking. And when it comes to the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you can only count your work experience in one NOC continuously. So to get the 67 points and to get the work experience points, you can only count work experience that's in the same NOC and that you've been employed continuously. You can't get work experience from different ones. So you can only claim the work experience for whatever your primary NOC is, not in another one. That is a change when Express Entry came in, and it's a change that they made to the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So, take that for what it's worth, but he has to choose one, whichever is the highest, and that's all he can use for the purposes of the Federal Skilled Worker Program. However, if he meets that minimum 67 points and he's eligible to submit through the portal, submit into the EE profile into the pool, then he can at that stage count the other work experience as foreign work experience, even though it's in a different NOC. So, as long as it meets the requirements for the comprehensive ranking system. Okay, good question. Okay, Hassan, I think I answered that. 395, very low chance. In fact, you won't be drawn through the Express Entry general stream. You need to look at a P&P. Joe Freddy says, where can we download the EE guide? See, I apologize, guys. Like, to me, it seems like it's so visible. Like, can you guys confirm? And it's hard because I can't always see what everybody's, posting, but can you guys confirm you can see the banner page, right? So if I go to here, you guys see this, right? That I've posted at the top of our Express Entry Law group. This is my view. Your view is going to be a little bit different. But if you go to the Express Entry Law group, which is where you're really watching this video, at the top, it has www.canadianimmigrationinstitute.com. And when you type that in, so if I go back to, where's my guide here? If I go back here and type in www.canadianimmigrationinstitute.com and click on it, it should take you, it'll take you to a different link. But ultimately this is the place right here. And then you can click on enroll in course. It's only the lifetime access that's got the 60% off. You click enroll in course. And then once you've clicked in enroll in course here, then you click on this little add coupon, and that's where you type in EEDIYSUMMER. And then when you click apply, then it gives the discount. Okay. All right. Hopefully that made sense. All right. Let's see if we can go back here. And, oh, guys, I'm so sorry. I didn't even share the page. I'm such an idiot. Okay, let's try this again. So going back to the question here, if you go to our Facebook page here, you should see at the very top in the banner, this is what I was talking about, www.canadianimmigrationinstitute.com. If you type that in, and here's the access code right here, EEDIY Summer. If you type that in right here, I'm just going to go back here. So if you type that in, www.canadianimmigrationinstitute.com, into your URL, it will take you to the landing page. Click on the enroll in course here. Then once you're here, you click on enroll in course when it's the one-time lifetime access. And once you're on this page, you click on this little add coupon here and then type in the EEDIYSUMMER. That's the code that will be expiring tomorrow at midnight. So $198.80. And then you can see here, you can pay via credit card or PayPal. All right. Okay. Hopefully that's clear now, and everybody that's listening will be able to get it without me having to take more time. But that's important because, what's the point of having a deal when people don't even know about it? Okay, so let's see if we can go back here and just keep cruising. My next appointment's at 2 o'clock, so I don't mind giving you guys today as much time as you need. So let's see here if I can figure out where we left off. Whew, there's a lot of questions. Okay, all right. Okay, so hopefully that helps, Joe. All right, Manal says, hello, Mark. Urfa, hello. Hi, guys. Divneet gives me a thumbs up. Okay, Manal says, okay, yeah, so Manal, I think I answered that question already. Bella joined. Thota says, your course seems definitely to do book for everyone. Thota. These guys aren't employees, everyone. These are people who are just like you who've purchased the course. And I should probably get you guys to do a little video testimonial because no one believes it. Like 116,000 people in the group. Most people have been in so many other groups that are basically telling people that Mark is just some kind of shyster. He's only interested in taking your money and he doesn't even answer questions in the group. Well, how many other people spend this much time every week doing these live Q&As? I'm not faking this, right, guys? Like the answers, everything is up here. This isn't a situation where people are just, they're only answering the questions that they've prepared for years to answer. I'm an immigration lawyer. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer. So anyways, whatever. Okay, moving on. So then, and then I've got my links. Alok says, please advise job appointment letters required. Okay, I already answered that one. Ralph has joined. Hi, Ralph. Shikra says, hi, Mark, kindly answer, can we change our NOC before getting an ITA? Will it affect my application if a visa officer checked my deleted profile and changed the NOC? No, you can fix it. You can fix anything. You can go back. You don't need to cancel your profile. You can go back and modify anything you like before you get an ITA. And I'd encourage you to do that. Let's say you've got, let's say an employer wasn't willing to give you a reference letter, so you decided not to include it. But then they came back and said, oh, we're sorry, we'll include it. We'll actually give you the letter. And then the NOC code that they have on there is different than what you thought it was going to be. Well, you can always modify and change anything up to receiving your invitation to apply. And I often counsel people, if you receive an invitation to apply and you know you're high enough that you can get the points in another draw, and there's a mistake when you got your ITA, then I will recommend that you decline and then fix it and then get drawn in the next draw. But if you are just getting by the skin of your teeth, 440 points, and the mistake isn't necessarily going to affect your score, but you still want to correct it, then at that stage, it's complicated, but I will often fix it in my eAPR and explain what I made in terms of changes and how it didn't impact on my comprehensive ranking system score, and I still would have been drawn otherwise. So that's my advice. Okay. Good question, Shikra. Okay. Yahia says, I have a lot of proofs of work experience, including my green card, which I use it to reside in another country. Can I use all of them or it won't be appropriate? Don't waste your time. Work experience, only give the government what they're asking for. Officers don't want to waste their time looking through a whole bunch of information that isn't asked. But with that being said, because they're ruthless, because they can be really cruel in how they're processing applications. If you have any doubt or you think an officer might be confused by what you've submitted, then take the time to please explain it. And if it means adding a document that they don't specifically ask in order to clarify your situation, then do it. Even though it adds work for the officer, the way they've created express entry, because there's no mercy and one simple mistake can result in an application getting refused and you losing your opportunity to immigrate forever, then be wise. Explain everything in detail. But as far as green cards and things like that, don't waste your time submitting that. Okay, next is Tala. Tala says, applying for a PEGS for SIMP, please answer to my below question. Profile details. This is way too much, my friend. Yeah, so anything related to PNPs like this, it's not something that I answer within this group. So Tala, you need to book a paid consultation for me to go through this for you, okay? Kushi says, I went to Nepal using my voter ID card, which is acceptable to travel from India to Nepal for 4 days. My passport does not mention it anywhere. Do I need to mention it in my travel history post-ITA? Kushi, of course. Anytime you travel anywhere, it's not your stamp that matters. It's that you actually went there. Think of all the people in, Schengen, in the EU, who travel between countries all the time and don't have any stamps. Canada has stopped stamping passports now for people who are coming into the country. And so stamps are secondary. Any travel that you've actually made, you need to list it. You want to make sure that the stamps you do have in your passport actually match with the dates you say you traveled, because that could be an issue. But yeah, it's not the stamps, it's where you actually traveled. But that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it, Kushi. Okay, Altef says, sir, I have job offer related to clergy and it is exempt from LMIA. Do I need anything else except job offer letter to authorize the work in Canada? And some said it takes more than a year. Is it true? Oh, do you know what? When it comes to claiming points and getting that job offer, Altef, this is something that I'm going to answer. I'm actually going to prepare. This is worthy of a separate express entry video in and of itself, just explaining it. I'm not going to answer your question right here because there's too many components to it, and I'm already over time. I'm like an hour and 25 minutes here I'm going with you guys today. So I'm going to skip through this, but Altef, send me a message through a Facebook Messenger about your question, and I will answer it, because generally, there are very, very few clergy who are here in Canada working on it's a work permit exemption. So there's separate rules for you. So I will create a separate one just for people who have that kind of question. Okay. Moving on. Ibra Ba says, I don't have a reference letter from my employer, but I have an invitation letter describing the purpose of my visit and my main duties. Can I use it as a proof for my main duties? Just like I said before with work experience, what do you do if you can't get a reference letter? Watch that video that I shared. But you need to do everything you can to produce every kind of other document to prove all of the information that the government typically asks and should be contained in your reference letter. Okay, so watch that video. Ralph, Mark is the best. You're awesome, Ralph. I hope you've done some cool hikes, my friend. I know you like to hike. I hope you've been up into the mountains and had some good hikes. Okay, Yaya said, should I show all my funds in all several bank accounts, or only one will be okay since it has the required amount in past 6 months? I've showed you guys proof of funds. It says to provide all of your banking information, not just the letter from the place. And I know every consultant out there will tell you, don't waste your time. It's not needed. It will never get refused. Only include a letter from the bank that actually holds the funds. That's the advice you'll get. But guess what, guys? I actually follow what immigration asks us to provide. And I can tell you that it's highly unlikely that it would get refused if you only provided the one bank information. But understand that they're looking at things holistically. And if they feel you're misrepresenting and not providing your full financial picture, then you know what? That could come back to haunt you later on. And lots of people will have significant debt and other things hidden in a bank account, and then get some funds from a parent or something, put it in a new bank account, and then hope that will fly. They want to make sure that you have enough money to settle properly in Canada. And in fairness, it's a wise decision, because you may not get a job right away. And that money that you have saved up is going to be the difference between establishing yourself in Canada and actually being destitute. So sometimes people get a job really quick, but it's really expensive here. Yes, the wages are higher, but so is the cost of living. So be aware of that. Okay, Cecilia says enrolled. Thank you. Awesome, Cecilia. I welcome your feedback. Okay, Bipin says, I need to submit a legal change of name document for my spouse, change of name post-marriage for my PR application post-ITA. My question, I have a Gazette notification, but partly in local language. Should I get a translation done? If yes, will the translation from my country or India do, or a marriage certificate will suffice? I have proof of her previous passport with old name and work experiences with previous names, which I am uploading in other sections. Bipin, go to the... this site right here. I'm going to share my screen with you. This one right here, guys. And if you put here name, okay, other name. Okay, to confirm identity and aliases as well as screen for fraud. Okay, let's see here if this one will work. I'm just, proof of name change. Let's see if we can find this here. This is the source of everything. Okay, so here we go. This documentation is required if the applicant indicates having used another name, such as a maiden name, which I believe is the situation that you're asking. And so if I can just scroll down, my mouse isn't wanting to work very good. Okay, the applicant must provide information and/or documentation on the use of this other name, letters of explanation, legal documents of a name change. So this is pretty open-ended, and you have a lot of flexibility in what the government wants you to provide here. It depends on the nature of it. So when you're going through this and you're trying to figure out what to include, yeah, use everything that you've got. If it's in a different language, make sure it gets translated, okay? So absolutely make sure that you get whatever you're using translated. Okay, let's see if I can, wow, we're gonna have to cut this off, guys. We are cruising here. Okay, Shika, okay. Okay, I think I answered that one. Davis says, please, I have a visiting visa. I'm planning to come study. Oh, okay, this is a non-express entry, Davis. That one I'm not going to answer within here. Alloc change of NOC. Yeah, a change of NOC can impact negatively on your application. You need to document it carefully. If you know you're going to get drawn, Alloc, in a future. If it's just a NOC that needs to be changed, fundamentally that doesn't impact on your eligibility or your CRS total. But if I have a choice and I know a client has enough points, let's say they've got 490 or something, I know they're going to get drawn in another draw. I will decline the ITA, fix it, go back into the profile, resubmit it, and get drawn again. But if you're at 440 when you got drawn, then I wouldn't decline. I would try to explain that there was a mistake and how that change in NOC code does not impact anyway in your eligibility for the programs, the Federal Skilled Worker or the CEC, as the case may be, and also that it doesn't impact in you getting drawn so that you're still above the ITA threshold. All right, great question. Okay, I'm skipping through. Okay, Ahmed says, hi. Devinder says, I need help getting a job offer. I don't do that. Abdul, hi. Kuma says, hello, please, I need your help. I need a job. Can't help you. Yeah, can I apply for a work permit online after I arrive in Canada as a PR resident? You don't need to apply for a work permit if you become a permanent resident. Yeah. You have the ability, all the rights and privileges of a Canadian citizen except the right to vote. So you don't even need to worry about that. You can work anywhere you want. Yesh says not able to get the discount. Yesh, then you're not typing in the proper coupon code. So for Yesh's purposes, my throat is totally drying out. I'm going to go back here. You type in www.canadianimmigrationinstitute.com. Once you're here, you click on enroll in course, one-time purchase, lifetime access. You can click here, enroll, or enroll down here. It doesn't matter. Once you're here, you need to go into here, click add coupon, and then here, just do it in all caps, EEDIY, summer, MMER, spell it correctly, click apply, and it will work. Okay. Oh, and once again, dang it, I keep forgetting. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I keep forgetting to switch my screen trying to answer these questions as fast as possible. Okay, here it is. So CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com, you type it in there. It takes you to the screen, enroll in course. Then you can click here or here, enroll. This is the last time I'm going to show you. You guys should be able to see it now. Add the coupon, then type in EEDIY summer and then apply. And that'll give you the discount. Okay, thanks for your patience, everybody else. Going back here. Okay, we are, actually guys, I have 3, yes, I've got 3 consults coming up here. And a couple of them I have to prepare for. I've got 3 consults for our members of our group here this afternoon, which is typical, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. My whole day is spent virtually working on having consults. So I am going to have to end this here. But let me just go back and answer just a couple more questions if I can. Wow, there's a lot. They are just flowing and flowing. So bear with me here. Okay, we'll go a couple more. All right, so yes, hopefully that got you your answer. Okay, Ahmed, if my bank balance fluctuates up and down, sometimes it holds less money than the required, and other times a bit above the minimum required. Okay, Ahmed, you need to deal with that because at the time you file your eAPR, after you get your ITA, your bank needs to, the amount that shows in your account needs to be a sufficient amount. So the conversion, I know some countries, it goes up and down. It's a little bit of a pain. But at that stage, keep a copy of the bank exchange rate showing that it is sufficient at the time in which you filed your eAPR. I always recommend my clients to do that. And then when the time comes, make sure, because it's going to go up and down. Then the next time it's a concern is when you're getting ready to land in Canada. And at that stage, it needs to be the same amount as well. Okay, so that's what I recommend. Take a copy of the exchange, confirm that the time you filed your eAPR and uploaded your bank letter, it was at a high enough level. And then if it dips down and goes up or whatever, by the time you then get your passport, your confirmation of permanent residence, and you're flying to Canada to land, at that stage, you also have to demonstrate you have your funds. And if your currency is dropped, then make sure you top it up so that you can show to that officer, if they ask, that you actually have sufficient. Okay, so that's one way of dealing with it. Richie Go, I'm back. Great, Richie. Welcome back. Ahmed says, do I have to mention all the jobs I worked in the last 10 years? If the last job has been going for over 3 years or more, the answer is no, you do not. As long as you meet the minimum entry criteria for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, in other words, you meet the 67 points, however much education you need to meet there, when it comes to the comprehensive ranking system, you max out with 3 years of foreign work experience. So there's no point to show any more than 3 years, if indeed that 3 years is enough to get you the 67 points for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Remember, you can earn work experience points under the Federal Skilled Worker Eligibility Assessment, that selection criteria, for up to 6 years. So it just depends on whether you have enough points to meet that 67 point threshold for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. If yes, then your comprehensive ranking system score is only going to max out after 3 years. Okay, Shika says, hello, Mark, please reply. Can we change NOC after deleting your profile? Okay, I already answered that. Rabia says, yes, the banner is visible. Great. Okay, Shika, you're getting a little overbearing here with your requests. Okay, there we go. And there's the thank you. Yes, I did get to it. Okay, Richie says, I'm on software engineer, 9 years, position, level, career under me, plan to develop. Can I consider myself in? Okay, I can't do a NOC assessment, Richie. That's not possible. But I do have, for your purposes, the secret to finding the correct NOC. So I'll share my screen this time with you guys. Here's another resource for you. And I'll type this in too. So secret to finding your correct NOC. Well, that's probably good enough. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this, I think you guys probably are aware, but I also have a Canadian immigration podcast website, which is this one here. And I have different blog posts and different information that I did previously on that. And so I'm going to go into our site here and I'm just going to type this in so that you guys can all have it in the comment section. And so I can't answer and tell you which NOC code, whether it works for you, but there's a link for you. Okay, Richie? All right. Mary, any possibility for this year to drop to 430? Highly doubt it, Mary. I don't think it's going to drop at all. And I will tell you guys, it probably makes sense to do a separate video. So Mary, send me a link or send me a message just saying, hey, you were going to talk about my predictions for CRS. I think I'll do a separate video just on that, Mary. So send me a Facebook Messenger reminding me about that. And time is just about up here. Shika says, thanks, Mark. Yeah, you bet. No problem. Bipin, Bipin says, one of my motivations to attain PR is to meet you personally once I am at Canada. I may as well, even if I don't get PR, but with PR we'll be joyful. You have really being a great mentor and a great help. God bless you, my friend Bipin. Awesome. Thank you so much. That is awesome, guys. That's what makes all of this worthwhile, to know that you guys actually believe I'm a real person. I'm not just some money grubbing lawyer, but that I actually care about you guys. And I think you guys know Ada moved to Lethbridge. And I think, I wonder if we can even, well, whatever. You guys know Ada. I don't think Ada's in the process of moving homes right now. But I just hired Ada to work with our firm. She came through. She's a lawyer from Nigeria. She moved to Lethbridge with her family. And so I recently hired her to help me with express entry applications. So, we are one big family, guys. I don't find jobs for people. It just worked out with Ada because she had a legal background and she fit with what I was looking for. But the whole purpose of this group is to create basically one big large family. And I hope you guys feel it. Okay. Amanul says, I'm interested to go to Canada, so tell me how I can apply. Please email me. Okay, Amanul, dude, you got to do your research, man. There's tons of resources, tons of links. And for you, I recommend that you actually purchase the guide at the discounted rate, and you can learn everything that you need to know about it, including how to do it. Amina says, hi, Mark. If I travel to my home country for visit purposes only for a month, should I get a PCC after leaving the country, or I don't even obtain it during my visit? Police clearances, Amina, only if you've lived in the country for 6 months in a row within the past 10 years do you need one. If you have a police clearance that has that you obtained before and you have to go back and you spend a month, I would get it updated. I really would. Because that 1 month back could cause an officer, if your previous police clearance is over 6 months old, to say that you need a new one. And it could even result in your express entry application being rejected. So I would. Davis says, please, I have a visiting visa. Okay, I'm not going to answer that one. I love Canada, Canadian people. Yeah, great. Okay, Mary, I answered yours. Okay, I think we're at the end here, guys. Alex says, thanks, Mark. Appreciate satisfactory answers. Great. Sorry, I'm just rambling here, guys, but the time is far, far spent. Yeah, and I understand, Davis, improve my points, want to come to Canada and study. Your five-year visit visa won't be canceled if you are granted a study visa. No, it's still valid. And in all honesty, depending on your study, you'll probably get another visa to replace it that's even for a longer duration. No restrictions on Libyans in particular. Alok says, I love to hear my name from you. Okay, we're at the stage now, I think, guys, where we can probably wrap this up. But thank you so much for tuning in. And just at the end here, as we wrap up, I'll just draw your attention once again, like I have, to the fact that our at the top in the banner page, you can see there, as of midnight tomorrow night, August the 15th, this special rate of 60% off my lifetime access is going to come to an end. So those of you who are thinking about it, considering, this is really the best thing that you can do. Those who purchase a monthly subscription for $97 US, virtually, by the time you've paid for 2 months at $97, it's the equivalent of what I'm offering right now for lifetime access. So this is for you guys. I recommend you highly, highly recommend that you take advantage of it because it's not going to come back again this year. And after this rolls through, it's just business as usual. It's going to go back to the $497 and then the monthly access. So last chance, take advantage of it now because it will come to an end tomorrow, and that's Mountain Standard Time. That's Canada time tomorrow, which is August the 15th. Yes, at midnight Mountain Standard Time. The coupon just turns off automatically and it won't be accessible anymore. All right. If you have questions, specific questions, and you want to engage me or hire me, I'm more than happy to do that. And as you've seen from a lot of the people who purchase the guide, they often will also book consultations with me just to be sure. And part of the reason I hired Ada is because so many of you just want to hire me to fully represent you. And although you can't see it right now because of the way this is structured, if you go to the announcement section, which is a real pain, how Facebook has done it. Pin posts are now announcements. Okay, you will see here, if you go to see all, it's kind of dropped away now. I actually have a special offer that is still valid for all of you guys right here. See if I can blow it up. 50% off my gold plan, which is $2,500 Canadian for full representation. And you just have to have 430 or above comprehensive ranking system points. And that is an offer that is still ongoing. And ADA is helping me to make this possible, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to offer it at this rate. So that's full representation for $2,500 Canadian. So you can reach out and let me know about that if you're interested. And then the last thing I'll show you is, if you want to book a consultation with me, you can go to my firm website. And if you guys want to learn more about me as a lawyer, what I do, the law firm that I'm a part of, I've got a great firm here that has we're just under 40 lawyers, and we have offices across the province of Alberta. And you can book a consult here, or you could just go and check out the team of lawyers and all the different services that we offer. In fact, I've now started helping my clients that immigrate to Canada with real estate, with setting up wills and estates, and even business law as well. So the firm itself is located all over, and these are all the lawyers that are a part of our firm. And you can see there I am right there, Mark. And then we've got at the we've got Billy here, who's as well. So, and then obviously Ada and Charlene and them are the other support staff are not a part. They're not, their photos aren't on the website. Okay, guys, I think that's about it. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for all that you do to help make this group the best that it is. And I just want to remind everybody that the group is called Express Entry Law for a reason. So I'm going to just close this, and I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to remind you guys, this group is called Express Entry Law because it is run by an immigration lawyer. The questions and the answers that are given to those questions are based on the law, not someone's experience or even the government's website and the policy that they basically provide on how they interpret the act. This advice that's given in this group is based on law. And that's what makes it different than all of the other groups to a large extent. And you can see here that I've just changed the banner page. We are the world's largest private Facebook group dedicated to express entry. No one compares. And that's because it's a testament to the quality of people within the group. And yes, I can't get to everybody's questions, but that's why I do this. And if people want their questions answered, they can send me, I think you guys know this by now. You send me an email to mholthy@stringham.ca and put EE Live Q&A in the subject line, and I will consider your question for the next live Facebook broadcast. Wow, this has been a long one, guys. 1 hour, 46 minutes. But I'm going to wrap it up. And thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful day. Mark Holthy, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, founder of the Canadian Immigration Institute, founder of the Express Entry Law Facebook group, host of the Canadian Immigration podcast, and everything else, and soon to be secretary of the National Canadian Bar Association's immigration section. That's me. Signing off. Take care, guys.